my side, just you and I.
We're back, and we're live, and we're late breaking. We're gonna do this. That's the song. That was the song we were just checking out. That's a dope little record, right? That one's full of a vibe. That one's nothing but a pure vibe. It's a vibration station. Yeah, so first off, I'm 100 Million. 100 Million did that. You could tell this song, I did this song a couple years ago because it has my old tag in it. 100 Million did that. You know, I'm a label owner, record producer, engineer, songwriter. Just, you know, I'm just getting online, getting my stream going. This is very new to me, you guys. This is like the 6th stream I've ever done in my entire life. So let's take a look. So first thing I'd like to do is we'll turn these vocals off. I just bounced the vocals out in another session so we could kind of just turn them on and off. It's hot as Winn-Dixie in here. Boom. Simple Jones Jackson Jr. Senior 3rd Esquire. I like to jump straight into the drums because that's what everybody wants to know about all the time. How you do your drums? What's going on with the drums? I like those drums. I'm like, all right, man, that's how we do them drums. So keep in mind, I did this record probably over 2 years ago. So the reason why I chose this record to break down for you guys today is because I was actually talking about networking yesterday in yesterday's video. And I was talking about networking across, and it was a good example of this was an artist. He wasn't a big artist. He wasn't all over the place. He was just literally coming into the studio all the time doing his music, and I really liked him. I was like, man, this kid's cool, man. Like, so I invited him to my personal studio. This was at my other studio. And then we just did a few records, and they came out pretty good. He's super young, you know what I mean? So you can hear that he's really young in these records. But personally, I always really loved these records, and there's something about this particular artist that I always heard. And he has something special about him. He's got probably a long way to grow still because he's so young. But, man, this kid is a songwriter. He's a musician. He's all kinds of stuff. So it's just a really blessing to work with him at such a young age because I'm sure as he grows up, he's just going to fucking blossom, man, and keep going and keep changing his sound and doing all kinds of stuff. So let's go ahead and check out these drums real quick. But that's just a good example of just reach out and grab the people right across from you. It's not always about trying to grab the biggest Beyonce. Come here, I got a song for you. No, maybe there's a Beyonce in your neighborhood that you need to cut a record with to get Beyonce's attention. You know what I mean? So just keep it moving and never feel like you shouldn't be networking across. That's the main point of why we're looking at this particular song today, other than I think it's a fucking dope-ass beat, and I like what he did on it. But, you know, it's just, that's the point, is it's not always about the biggest artist that's going to get you there. You'll get those big placements, I promise you guys. But a lot of the times it's just about reaching right out across from you. Who's right next to you? Who's really dope? Do some work with them, because as the time passes, that will become a body of work for you. And you'll have a collection of 9, 10, 20, 50, 60, 70, 100, 200 songs out there. You know what I mean? And that will build up, and then that will get you into your whatever you're trying to do. You know, if you're making music for artists, because that's what we're doing here. We're making music for artists. Come on with it. All right. So what's the first thing that's going on in these drums? Let's play it from the top and run it down from the top. Sorry. It's absurd. So rude of him. That little guitar rhythm's pulling the whole song together in the intro, so you don't need to add a lot of stuff. This record is so simple, you guys. I think that's been the main theme of every song that we've broken down so far, is how simple it is. It's actually simplicity that creates space for the artist to be able to hear themselves do a song on. And that's probably the first thing that appeals to an artist when they're looking to get a record for their album or their single or whatever. So while you're making music, make sure that everything is spacious, man. Spacious. Hit that space note, man. Isn't this a nice little Airy Jones right here? Let me see if it even got froze. Never even got froze. This is what it is, man. These guys make sounds so good nowadays out of packs and samples, and you could pull from so many places, man, that most of the time the sonics of these sounds are going to be really good. So if it fits, it fits. You don't got to go recreate it and do all this extra processing to try to think that you did something just to make the song acceptable, because that's a big thing that people get stuck in their minds, is they think they have to do all these extra things to create an emotion out of a sound, or, oh no, I'm hearing the sound. Well, you may be just hearing that one sound by itself. You're not listening to how it actually fit in the song. So maybe you didn't need to do anything to it. You just needed to turn it down or pitch it up or down in key with the actual record. So keep that in mind. Nice. Just a little airy white noise, little splasher doodles. Come on. Now let's see what's going on. This song has a little bit different type of arrangement too. This goes straight to the hook. Which in modern music, it's probably not the most common thing. It happens sometimes, but it just kind of worked for this record. So the arrangement, all that stuff, all that shit is so important to keep in mind because it's going to change every time. Don't think when you're making beats, you guys, this is something that I see a lot of guys do, and nothing knocking them at all, but I just want you guys to be a little more creative. It's every record isn't an 8 and an 8 and an 8 and then a 4 pre and then boom back. Like, you guys got to really listen to what that song's trying to tell you, because you should be hearing a song inside of your head before the beat's done. You know what I mean? Before you even have that relationship with the artist, or before you start pitching that beat or sending it out, you should fully understand that, you know, that there's something in this that is appealing to me, so it might be appealing to somebody else. But if you fill the whole record up, you know what I mean, there's going to be no space for that artist to really hear anything. So it could be the best beat in the world, dopest sonics ever, but you just took up the space, you know? Now what do we got? Let's break this little guy open. Where's this little hat? Ah, look at this net. That's like a little ride. That's literally a ride. It has a little detuned phaser going on it, and it's just EQ'd. Look at the bottom. It's being taken out because we talk about the vocals. Where the vocals live. The vocals live predominantly, depending on it's a male, female, whatever, but they're going to be around like 800, 900, all the way up to 3, 5. That's where the predominancy of those vocals are going to be understood when the sonics hit your ears. So keep that in mind to always, in your sounds, in a lot of your drums, you're going to want to leave some stuff, you know what I mean? But in your top end of your drums, your hi-hats, sometimes your crashes, your washy stuff, make sure that you're making room for that sibilance. You want those sibilants to really be coming through in the vocals. You know, you don't want it to be harsh. A lot of times, sometimes the mix will come off harsh because you'll have all these high top frequencies in the record, and then it will be mixed with the vocal sibilants, and then you'll be trying to get it out of there, and you'll be fighting, you know what I mean, for space. So if you're producing with a song in mind from the jump, you won't get into those same kind of battles, you know what I mean, especially if you're mixing the song or you're the one who's going to be recording it and doing that also on your own production. So just keep that in mind too, is always make sure that you're checking those sounds, you know. And what's this? Panned hard to the left. Oh, let me let somebody in the gate real quick. Come on. 1 second. 1 second. Yeah, dude, but it's about that room, even if in the top end. Even in the drum sometimes with those splashy sounds, you're going to have opportunities to create room for those vocals to live, and that's really important. All right. What's going on? Okay, so let's listen to the contrast of these two together real fast. So this is panned hard off to the left. Look at that, 19. It's cut down, so it's a little bit more in the background. We got another thing that's a little more audible, another hat. And you'll see that it's been bounced and it's been panned off to the left again. So it's, you know, and what are we doing? We're probably doing something very similar. We're gating it. Let's ungate it real quick. That's another way to create space, you guys. You're not always going to have to go in and crazy and EQ everything. Sometimes if you have a tail of a sound and you like the sonics of it, you don't want to go EQ it, and you're not trying to fuck with the frequencies of it at all. You can just gate space into things sometimes too. And the reason why I got away with gating this particular hat, this red channel, so hard is because this blue channel is so splashy and it has a tail. So the stuff that I'm actually taking out in this channel is excess that I'm making room for in these little splashy rides above the hi-hats. You know what I'm saying? So when you break it down and you look at the record, those are the hats for the song too, you guys. So it's not 10 channels going on, and you'll see in the hook it breaks down to these sections, and then when it goes to the verse, it only has these one hats too. So there's literally 2 channels of high frequency when it comes to the drums and the hi-hats and the rides, and this whole record, that's it. So if you're adding 9, 10, 13, 14 channels of hi-hats and stuff in your music, you're probably taking up a lot of that area where an artist can go, you know what I mean? Like, trim it way back, you guys. Keep that shit as simple as you can. Yeah, come on. This record is so simple. I made it like 2 years ago too. It's funny. It's actually the first time I've been in this record since I made it and recorded it and we put it out. So it's like, oh, this is interesting to see what I was doing. I was keeping it simple back then. You'll refine your simplicity more and more and more as time goes on, you know. Simple Here we go. Let's see what's going on. So the next two channels of hi-hats, bro. One's more washy, one's a little more transient, kind of stabby, staccato. And listen to that. You know how we talked about how to make a simple hi-hat very interesting is the velocity. You can probably already see. I'll just kind of kick it up so you can see the velocities. You see how they're not the same. None of those hats are the same. So since this record is so simple, one of the keys to giving it that thing that makes it interesting for the listener is velocity in making sure that everything's not hitting exactly the same. Tat, 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 tat would get really old if there was nothing to accompany it. You know what I mean? So it's important that you're making sure that you're kind of controlling those velocities so they keep the listener interested and engaged as the record moves forward for sure. For sure, for sure. So let's see what's going on in this next guy right here. Oh, sorry. Wrong one. I'm telling you, Tree. Telling you, Tree. You, shut the fuck up, Tree. So let's get back to work. Let's see where we were. All right. So that's a dope-ass snare, right? Love that shit. That's pretty much standard industry fucking snare there with minus some other stuff that goes on at the end of it. But this is something that I used to do. I'm going to show you guys right now. Let's take it all off first. It is hot. I feel like a melted popsicle. All right, let's keep it moving. All right, so what I used to do to snares and kicks and all that stuff is I used to use this plugin a lot, dude. And it's not like the most holy grail of plugins, you know what I mean? But it's a great plugin, the Tony Maserati drum bus. And then you just kind of go ahead and flip these around till you find something you like. You know what I mean? As you can see, it's not going to be like you put the snare setting on the snare and that's, you know, yeah, walk away. You know what I mean? This is actually on a bass drum setting and it's fucking just kind of kicking some snap, kicking some treble in there and then controlling the thump a little bit of that snare. And then I really liked how that sounded back then, so I was letting it go. And as you can see, remember I told you I did this record a couple years ago, 2 years ago. I was probably doing extra movements I didn't really need to do fully. I probably didn't need to do all this EQ, but it sounded okay, so I kept it on there. So we're not going to fuck with it. That's just how that, it's so simple. There's that one dry, and then there's probably one wet. So now we're down. We talked about the snares. We were on the atmospheric part of the snare. So the first snare, this is something I did. Keep in mind, I did this record 2 years ago, you guys. So there's some stuff in here I was doing that I'm not doing anymore. There's some stuff that I should still do, but everything that I'm doing, you're going to find this super simple, and you can apply this to all your music, you know. And the main thing of this whole channel is it's a niche. We're not just going to cook up. We're not just going to do song breakdowns. We're going to talk about why artists choose beats, man, because that's a big thing. You could be a great producer. I'm not the biggest producer in the world by any means, but I have a good amount of records on artists because I know how to produce a record with a song in mind, and I'm not just throwing beats together with all kinds of sounds, you know what I mean? And regardless if they're dope or not, they need to appeal for a song. So that's what we're talking about is space. This motherfucking channel should be called Space Jones because that's all we talk about is making space. So here we go. Airy. This one's just nice and airy and washy because this one's already doing its job. If you guys come from dance music or other types of music, you probably were going to stack your drums like crazy. But if you look in this song, how many elements of drums are in this fucking record playing at one time ever at once? What's this guy? Oh, we're going to look at that as we get over there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements of drums in this whole record. That's what's in the hook. When you hear the hook of this record, that's all you're hearing is 5 drum sounds. Boom, doing their job. Because they're marrying with the guitar. They're touching the low end. They're only doing 50% of the song's job because the other 50% is for the fucking artist to do their job. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the main point. 1 kick drum, 2 snares. 2 hi-hats, 1 hi-hat, 1 ride. Like, that's all you really need. If you're finding yourself adding so many layers in a record, then you might need to dial it back just a little bit and ask yourself why or what you're trying to accomplish. You know what I mean? Let's take a look at this kick. Nice sounding kick, dude. That motherfucker. Let's turn this up. That's a thud muffin. If I've ever heard one, that's a nice little thud muffin. All right, let's take a look where we're doing it. Some of you guys probably want to see. So this is what I'm telling you. A couple years ago, I was big on this Maserati plugin. I was using it all the time. And if you look, like I said, it's on this snare too. But look, it's not set to snare drum on the snare. It's just wherever you'll find that sounds right. So experiment a little bit and you'll find it. That's a really useful plugin. But you're going to want to use the drum bus version of it. You know what I mean? Like, or the group plugin that he makes used to be pretty cool, but it does introduce some noise. But honestly, no one gives a shit. Keep it simple. Keep it moving. Nice little on the bass drum setting. It's creating some snap in that kick so it can be heard. Why am I creating snap on the kick? You know what I mean? Why not just thud? Well, because nowadays a lot of people listen to music on their phone. They listen to it on their fucking laptop. They listen to it on smaller devices in their car. You want them to still be able to feel that kick. You know what I mean? You want them to understand that what its intention is too. So to add a little smack on your kick is never a bad idea for sure. And it's probably being EQ'd out. Yep. So add some smack, pull it out. Make that shit right. Create the frequencies. I don't need all these extra frequencies in this kick. So if I were to leave it in there, it sounds cool, but it's not. It's overweighted and it's like not balanced right. This is 1, 2, 3 moves on an EQ. Well, 4, 5. But these 2 don't count because they're passes. You know what I'm saying? Come on, give me a break. Shut the fuck up, tree. All right. You know what I mean? 1, 2, 3. That's all you're doing. 3 little ducks. Where are these frequencies? Where the vocals live. And you already created some smack. 200. 200 is right where the smack's going to live a lot. You know what I mean? Anything 120 and below, that's starting to get the body, the weight, the rumble, the sub of the kick. You know, this record has a bass in it too. So I didn't need to have a huge bottom in the kick, but I wanted that kick to do its job and smack a Roroni. You know what I mean? And why does it hit so hard? Why do the drums feel so good when there's so few of them? Because there's so much space for those drums to do their jobs and those transients to really like be effective. So let's jump over to the drum bus real fast because we're moving. We're trying to make up for a little bit of time. Take your time. I used to do a little. Now I'm doing a little more on the drum bus. But you'll see, even a couple years ago, I was doing this on my drum buses. Look at that. That's the same shit that we've done. I think this has been on every record that we showed you on my drum buses. The very first thing is we're going to saturate those little puppies. How? With the Neve saturator. This is an NLS bus. What this bus does, shit, this thing just emulates the circuitry of consoles. This Nevo is actually, these are engineers. These aren't like the boards, but this is the actual emulation of this particular engineer's actual Neve inside of his studio, how he likes it to sound. So some of these are customized to that actual engineer. Like Spike, major big fucking pop R&B hip hop engineer. You know what I mean? Yo, Nevo, these are real people. I'm not going to get into it, but just do your research on these plugins and you'll find that these are guys and why these plugins are going to do what they're going to do. I love how a drum bus sounds ran through a Neve console in real life. So I go get the emulation and I throw it on the drum bus just to give it a little saturation. And you'll notice that this is under 3 too. I'm not going crazy with the drive knobs. Why? Because as this record moves forward and gets bounced out, put into Pro Tools, all this other stuff, and listen to the type of song it is. It doesn't need crazy overdrive. It's a vibe, dude. This particular record is a vibe. Every song we've broke down so far on these little breakdowns have been completely different, but they're all so common is that it's about space, man. And even a record that's not a vibe record, like fucking Certain Flavors, we did that yesterday. It's not a vibe record. That's a turn-up record. That shit's hard as fuck. That shit's about feeling good. But it's still, like, the same techniques apply to different genres of music. You know what I mean? It's always going to apply. And then I always do this. I was being a little timid for years, you guys. I was so scared. I was like, oh, my God, am I going to push my drums too hard? What the fuck did you say, push your drums too hard? There's no such thing. If they sound good, you're allowed to push them harder. If they sound bad, pull them back. That's the fucking rule of thumb. It's common sense, y'all. So yeah, I used to be scared as fuck about going crazy on the drum bus. Now, this is timid. I did this 2 years ago. This is my settings nowadays. I'm not even kidding. It seems like nothing changed, but everything changed. Everything changed.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. It's just 2 dB. Everything didn't change. But it just brought it up. It hit him. It smacks. You know what I mean? You see what I'm saying? So many different types of ways to use a limiter, you guys. Like I keep saying, when we get into the Pro Tools mix stuff, we're going to talk about all the different techniques about a limiter. But what this limiter is doing is literally just adding gain. That's all it's doing. So don't freak out. You know, you can't limit and you'll limit. Dude, you got to understand that a lot of the stuff that a lot of people have learned and understood in audio colleges and all that shit is absolute fucking bullshit and is not going to really help you win in a modern day setting in a studio with real recording artists who are in there every day working. They're going to have requests and tasks and to be trying to push you and do things that you never knew you were allowed to do, you know? Like, some background on me is I never went to school. I never had that luxury or having those opportunities. I just learned in the industry, which ended up being a lot better in the long run for me because I would be with hundreds of artists over years, and each artist has a different taste and they have a different personality and they want this and that. So everybody like has to understand that if you learn from a book on how to do something that is completely rewritten every day, then you're going to be reading pages of history that are no longer moving the industry forward whatsoever. So don't worry about the rules as much as you're worrying about the emotions and the feelings of the stuff that you do inside of the techniques. One of the biggest things I suggest younger engineers, producers, to do is learn all the rules for sure, but then learn them and find where you can break them and start breaking every one possible until you have your own set of rules, man. Because then you're going to really be more interesting sonically to the whole market. You know what I mean? So slam those drums. Boom. Perfectly fine. You know what I'm saying? Shit, on my shit nowadays, my drum bus is slapping up here. So this is even cool. That's those drums. Oh, we forgot one thing of drums. This is what happens. Okay, look. So if you guys notice in the verses, in the beginning of the verses, the whole record breaks down, right? And there's just literally one filtered drum loop. And then some motherfucking claps that automate. Some rims that automate. So why break the record down on each verse? Why not just let it run? Because it's the type of record where it needs that space for a second. You didn't even take them out of the same world. You just walked into the next room. You know what I mean? Make sure in your transitions, you're not going so crazy that you're completely taking the artist out of the world that you place them in. You as a producer, it's your job to put them inside of a world. Now, what they do inside of that world, whether you're involved in the songwriting or anything, that's a whole nother type of thing. On this end of the actual creative work, where you should be thinking about that way ahead. You know what I mean? You should be making sure that you're not overstepping the artist. You're not fucking making shit crazy. You're not doing all these transitions and all this shit to where there's no cohesive flow in the record, but you also want to make sure it's interesting enough to do out the arrangement where you're taking them to the different chambers of that same world. You know what I mean? And then sometimes you could swing them all the way back and you end up at the front door again and it's like a whole new, like, oh shit, you know what I'm saying? But that's more song arrangement. So we're going to get into all that stuff too, but this is just, all those things matter when you're talking about why an artist chooses a beat, though. You know what I mean? If it's just a beat that's a dope loop and it runs, it doesn't matter if it's the dopest motherfucking 4 bars, 8 bars in the world. They're going to skip over that shit because it has no arrangement. It's not talking to them. It's not letting them tell their story. You know what I mean? So make sure that you're creating chambers inside of your world, you know? Just breaks down. So simple, you know what I mean? 2 elements in drums playing. Cool. So that pretty much does it for the fucking drums, you guys. I could sit here and we could go drumming forever, but let's move on to the sounds now because you're going to find out this record is so simple that it's going to disgust you. If you're a producer and you've been out there and you're a younger guy and your goal is to make music for artists. You're not just wanting to be a trap producer, right? You're not just wanting to be an R&B producer. You don't just want to make pop. You want to be a musical conduit for artists to tell their story. So you're going to need to be able to adapt and do all these different things, man. You know what I'm saying? You're going to really, truly need to find out how to blend inside of different worlds, but keep it simple because you're making music for artists. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the main goal, you guys. So it doesn't matter what genre it is. If you want to be in the industry and have a successful run of records and do all that kind of stuff and all the stuff you see and it sounds fun and all that, you need to learn the basics on why these artists respond to certain beats first. It's not just, I promise, it's not random. You know what I mean? It's not just, I mean, it's always going to be, there's no guarantee, but like these type of techniques are going to help you so much have a better understanding and opportunity to land records and have a better understanding on how to work with that particular artist. You know what I mean? So, and this is something you can apply to all artists too. Every artist is going to love to hear themselves more. So, you know what I mean? The more space you give them, the happier they're going to be. Straight up. So fucking simple. Here's the sounds. Y'all, dude, who wants to come over to the studio right now and beat me up because this record is so simple and so dope at the same time? I know they're out there. I see guys adding so much shit. Chord, da, bah, bah. Like, you know what I mean? You guys really got to understand, and it's about creating an emotional palette for the artist to write a song, and it's not about how dope your fucking beat is. You know what I mean? That's always what we're going to talk about. So, dude, sample loop, so simple. You see how simple this record is? There's not a lot going on. Let's take a look. This was obviously bounced the fuck down. Yeah, so cool. So this has been treated and bounced down, and then these channels were probably treated separately, but very similar, and then consolidated on the one channel to make it motherfucking easy, cohesive, simple. When you look for something or you play something or you find a loop, whatever, listen, it don't need to be crazy. There's a whole song to that. If it moves you, then that's it. Don't go extra. You know what I mean? You already got the song. Just lay that shit out. We already broke down the drums, how simple they were because of this type of sound, this type of guitar. It needed some simple drums to go with it because it creates a whole record. When you hear the actual fucking song, it isn't about how incredible the beat is.
I know, I love it gets so crazy. Long as I got you, girl, I don't need a thing. Thoughts of a ring. Long as you got me, girl, you don't need to think. I'll take care of everything. So come, lay by my side. Just you and I.
So you can really hear what we're talking about. When you put that all together, that shit becomes a full song. It's like, it's not even funny how simple it is. You know what I mean? The beat is so chill. And then what happens? Started off with the hook. Why not? I'm talking about the intro. The hook guitar, the hook loop is the same as the intro. Well, why? Because it's the most interesting fucking part in the song. People move shit through so fast. If I started with like a slow fade or something, they might skip over the song and I have an opportunity to understand it. You know what I mean? So, boom, just keep them, grab them from the boo-boo, right from the go. And what's going to the verse? Why is that happening? Well, shit. I'm introducing all these new textures. These aren't really musical fucking sounds. This is a sweep. Why? Oh my God, rewind 5 minutes. We're talking about creating chambers and how to tie those chambers together inside of a production so it's not just an abrupt change. So these little sweeps and these little vocal dabs and things like that, tiny little things. There's fucking 3 elements of music in this song. You know what I mean? Like, give me a fucking break, you guys. It doesn't need to be so complicated. If you want to make beats and do dance music, do all that shit, experiment, do whatever you want. There's no right or wrong rules. But if you want to make music for modern day recording artists who are in the studio on a regular basis, you want to be on the radio, we want to make records that resonate with people that are Grammy nominated, that win us Grammys, that change our lives. So you have to understand that these artists need room to tell their story. You know what I mean? Like, some of the simplest beats are the biggest beats over the past few years, and you guys got to really cut it back and realize, like, man, that's the secret sauce, not what plug-in and this and all that. It's about how you put it together from the jump. If you're producing from the jump and maybe you don't know fucking all kinds of artists and you don't have that access, but if you paint that world in your head and you start living in that world in your head where you're like making these records with artists in mind and you're building a catalog of that, you're going to find yourself at the right place at the right time with the right music to play for the right fucking people, and then boom, it's over for you. You're going to start, oh shit, now I get it. You know what I mean? Like, I undervalue my experience so much. I've been with hundreds. I'm not exaggerating, no cap. I have been with hundreds of different recording artists, from the biggest artists in the world to just people who are just starting out. So I'm telling you guys, man, this is real shit. This is real stuff that I'm talking about. This isn't coming from my opinion. You know what I mean? Like, I had the opportunity to sit with literally the biggest of the biggest producers and writers and engineers and artists in this world. And this is the main thing that they all share in common, is the simplicity in how they approach their work, how they do their work, and why they do it that way. It's like, I don't even know if I'm allowed to tell everybody this shit, but I'm fucking on here talking about it. Everybody, sometimes when you watch a cook-up session, it's even doing too much. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know. We could all make beats. We can make 10 beats on here a day, but I want to explain why things are what they are instead of just run and make beats the whole time. So hopefully there's bits of information inside of this other than just cooking up a beat in front of you that can help you in your own workflow. Because we're gonna cook up for sure, and we're not gonna be talking as much when we do cook-ups, but we're talking a lot for this for a reason, because this is a piece of information that I know for a fact the general public does not have access to as much. I don't know. Like, I've been blessed to be in the studio in Los Angeles with endless different types of creatives. So I was smart enough to absorb things and not just be like, well, I do it like this and me, and it's my thing, and I only want to do it like that. That's the dead end road. You know what I mean? Like learn from everybody. Figure, if you work with 5 different artists, figure out what's the one thing those 5 artists have in common and why they do it. And you could apply that to the next 50 artists. You know what I'm saying? And then once you break that down, what do all those artists have? You can apply that to the next 500 artists in your life. Like, this is not a joke. This is not a game. We live in a day and age where you can cover a lot of ground if you're playing your cards right in your music. So I just hope anything in these videos can help these producers really understand that it's about simplicity and it's about connecting to the song. Even before the song is written, create a magical fucking song in your head. Cool. There you go. It doesn't have to be that song for the artist, but make sure there's space for you to imagine. Go to Imagination Land and play in there while you're producing, so you know that that artist has Imagination Land to go to. If you create it in the song, it's there. It doesn't have to physically, mentally, sonically be there. You put it there like with your imagination. It's there. This is music. People feel that shit. I promise, dude. Do it. All right, let's keep it moving. So yeah, what's going on right here? Transitions, chambers, moving through a record to create the same experience, a different experience in the same world. That's the key. You know what I mean? A lot of this might sound like I'm rambling because I'm talking fast, but I know what the fuck I'm saying, and these points are all connected. I promise you guys. And if you want to know anything, fucking ask a question. Anything. This is open format. Yo, bro, why do you do that to that part? What kind of sound is that? How'd you get your snare to sound like that? Why you know, like, that's what I'm here for. That's what these videos are for, is for a community. That's the sounds. What? There's a couple little transitions on the little parts where this is probably moving into the pre. Oh, let me kick the vocal on so I know. Yep, that's back into the hook. So typically I'll add a little one sweep right after the hook, one sweep into the pre, one sweep into the back into the hook. There you go. Those are 3 transitions. That's creating different experiences in the song. It's that easy. 1, 2, 3 sections that have transitions. You see what I'm saying? And then there's like a little air stab in the beginning of the song, and then at the outro, so it makes sense. You know what I mean? But that's it for those the actual song. You know what I mean? What's this flip down?
Long as you got
Oh, let's look at this. Sorry guys. Creating space. Let's take it off.
long as you got me, girl, you don't need to think. I'll take care of
Let's take all these EQs off real fast, and this we're gonna talk about center. You already know I love center.
long as
So much room is now being occupied. That vocal,
long as you got me, girl.
it's like kind of hiding a little bit. That's not this ain't the final mix. I just had the vocal bounce in the production sections to show you guys, but you can already tell right away that taking these frequencies out right here made a world of difference in the appeal of this song. You know what I mean?
Long as you got me.
Why? Here it is, 2K, because to take that out, it was just don't need to be there. Trim it at 10, because anything above 10, that's sibilance, that's expensiveness in a vocal. You know what I mean? You want to make sure that you're leaving room in your stuff. And check this out. Say you got some hi-hats, you got some rides. So you got some hi-hats and some rides going. That's what this record has. Those are the only 2 high frequencies in the drums. So now if I leave all the high frequencies in the guitars, I leave all the high frequencies in the sweeps and all that stuff, when the vocal goes to occupy that space, it's going to like have a little bit more, it's competing against a hi-hat, it's competing against a guitar, it's competing against a sweep, and you're going to have to go back and trim and make that space, or just let it run, and then it could have been better. But that's like, oh my God, I fucking cannot stand to know something could have been better. You know what I mean? Like, all you have to do is take a little bit of initiative and understand why you're doing what you're doing, instead of just do it like, yeah, fucking this is fun, I'm a producer. You know what I mean? Like, that's, dude, just try to understand why things are done for artists and to create a song. You're not making beats. When you sit down and you cook up, stop being like, I'm going to make some beats. Man, I'm going to write I'm going to make some foundations for some songs that change my life. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we're trying to do. That's what we're trying to talk about. That's what we're trying to teach on this channel, is how to make that foundation of a song, not just a beat. You know what I mean? Like, come on with me. Come on with me. Come on this journey with me. Come on. If you're learning anything, please follow the channel, man. I appreciate it. go ahead and make sure you follow the Twitch channel. If you're watching on Facebook, you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, like, that little fucking yaddy doo dah. Like, come on, man, come with it. I'm dropping some gems on here for you guys. This ain't bullshit. I just didn't come out of the fucking my mother's womb thinking I know this shit. I've spent a lot of fucking years with real artists doing the wrong shit, doing the right shit, going through endless different avenues of figuring it out to be able to help share this information with people at hand. And all right, cool. Bass. Bus. Okay, this has been frozen. This has been bounced down. Let me tell you something. So I probably, like we were showing you yesterday.
Come lay by my side, just you and I.
Oh yeah, this is simple. And I was this mix is conservative. What the fuck I'm doing nowadays? Keep in mind this shit is blasted nowadays. So if you look at a record like yesterday, like Certain Flavors by Beckham, I'm going crazy with my levels because I'm telling you, there's cheat codes and it doesn't matter. You just gotta understand, man. Don't listen to some guy in some audio college from fucking 13 years ago. It's like, oh, excuse me, your AB meter has it's reading, appropriate to. How the fuck does it sound to you, bro? It sounds right. Cool. Then let it rock. Because no one fucking cares in the world anymore. If it sounds good, it sounds good. That's the rule, the golden goose rule right there. No one cares how it's done. No one cares what you had to do it that way. They just care if it fucking sounds good or bad. Oh, so one thing I used to do with my 808s a lot is I would start with an initial hit, right? So you can tell there's nothing on the one on this. Why? Because I'm leaving room for the fucking kick. It's just leaving room for the kick, and it's kind of creating a different kind of bounce when the bounce comes on the up instead of the down. So if it's like doo 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 all the time instead of like doo 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 doo, that's on the up. So it's like it has a whole different feeling in the vibe of the record and how the guitar's rolling. It just felt like that bass should come on the up. So that's why you're not seeing the ones on these. It's not necessarily just because there's a kick in the record. It's because that's just creating the different type of bounce in the song. You know what I mean? So, but let me talk to you about something. There's a cool little technique and a trick I've been doing for years on 808s. That's not a mixed thing. It's about using what the world gives you nowadays. So I can play the piano. I can do stuff. I can play, I can play bass line right now, blah, 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 blah. But it's really fun sometimes to get a start of a bass line of your own. Play some MIDI, get something rocking, get a couple hits, and then grab a few different loops and grab different phrases from those loops and move them around and then make sure they're in the same fucking key, though. That's a big thing. Make sure the low end's in the same key. So then now you're combining your MIDI with your actual few turnarounds and the couple, maybe it's a slide from one you like that's only in a half bar version at the end of every 4 bars. You know what I'm saying? Like, get creative with how you put together those 808 samples. It doesn't always have to be the doom, 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 doom. Like, think about it. Be creative, but see how I'm leaving the space. You can see that there's space in this 808. You know what I mean? But this 808 is created with it's been bounced down from a version of probably a MIDI channel and probably 2 variations of another loop, but not the loop. It's just using the actual little bits of a loop placed where I want it with my MIDI. And then it creates a whole different type of experience. You know what I mean? It's original. It's you doing your thing. And it's really fun to experiment like that. So let's take a look what's going on. On your 808s, always trim the low. Always trim. Let me tell you something. It is 100% pointless to have anything like 30 hertz and below on your record. You don't need it. You don't need it. You're creating rumble. You're fucking the radio compressor up. If it's played on a club, it just sounds a little disgusting. There's no reason to have anything in your record that's below fucking like 25 hertz, fucking 28 hertz, 30 hertz. Really understand that you can cut that shit out. You know what I mean? I did this record fucking 2 years ago. You know what I mean? Give me a break. But that's real shit. It's how you do it. It's the way to go. You can really trim that space out in your sub, and it will actually feel like it's knocking harder. Don't go so high, like 35, 40. You'll see you're starting to lose some certain things. If you're listening with the sub or you're listening in a rig in a studio, you'll find that sweet spot down there around 30 hertz to do your cut, and you'll get addicted to cutting your low end down there. You'll be like, damn, okay, yeah, I get it. And check this out. You always don't have to use a cut like a pass. Sometimes you guys can use a shelf. A shelf on the low end instead of a cut down there around 30 sometimes can be way more effective on keeping the character in the record and not losing any of the energy of why you liked it being overdriven in the way. And Chris, I ain't afraid to slam a 808, to slam the drums. We got a record together where we went crazy. Remember that 808? We're like, no more, slam hard as fuck till that shit is almost just destroyed. You know what I mean? But because when we were going in there, we were already knowing that we were making a record for Beckham, bro. Like, we already had that in mind. We weren't like, oh, is this going to work? Are we allowed to? Let's make this beat as disgusting as we can. No, dude. We were intentionally creating an atmosphere for him to do that record on. You know what I mean? Like, that record is a fucking smash, bro. That shit is so overdriven. It has so much distortion on the 808s and the drums, and everything is just fucking disgusting. But then when you play it back and you hear after we recorded Beckham on it, bro, yeah, you already know, dirty, bro. Dirty as fuck, dude. That shit is dirty as fuck. That shit was fun too. Bro, I had so much fun when you came down here and we were working together, bro. Straight up, like, I at this point in my life, we could work with anybody, you know what I mean? Like, but you don't want to work with every single producer an artist puts you with, you know what I mean? Like, it's cool, but not every human is going to gel together. We can all make something incredible together for sure, no doubt, anybody. But you're going to resonate with other producers and other creatives better, you know what I mean, than other people sometimes, and it just allows you to freely access a whole new chamber of ideas and concepts together than it is when you're almost being like just put together to collab with somebody. You know what I mean? Like, we've been making beats for years, bro. You know, I've been making beats since I was like 14. I'm fucking 34. Holy shit. You know what I mean? Like, the people have been making them longer than me, less than me. It doesn't matter, but it's about the chemistry that you find when you do collab. Like, that's why we were able to do those joints we did for Beckham like that, and we just met each other. You know what I mean? It wasn't like of course, if you want to be an industry producer, you better be ready to work with everybody and anybody, and you can. But that doesn't mean that you're going to have chemistry with everybody. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean every time you go in with producers you don't know, you're going to get fucking fire just because you're fire and they're fire. You know what I mean? That's not how it works, period. So people got to understand that, too, when you're collabing. Like, sometimes, just like styles make fights, styles make records. You know what I mean? When you put different creatives together, too. So you just got to keep that in mind. So that's pretty much this record, you guys. So, guys, thank you for tuning in. If you learned anything from this Streamcast live pod, then go ahead and follow the channel. 100 Million did that on Twitch. And go ahead and keep doing these Monday through Friday, 6:30, 7 o'clock. We'll be on here dropping all kinds of different gems, breaking records open, doing different stuff. We're going to start doing cook-ups. We're going to do Pro Tools mixes for you. We're just going to kind of give you a better understanding of why records get picked by artists and why other records get skipped. It's not about making a dope beat. It's not about all that. It is, believe me, Sonics, all that shit matters. But we're going to crack open the codes to why artists really respond to certain types of beats. And it's about keeping it simple. So keeping it simple is not as simple as it sounds. I appreciate all you guys. Thanks for tuning in. And I hope you enjoy this record. And thank you so much for tuning in. Boom, shakalaka.
Fuck you, just chill, but I need you. Kiss me like you miss me, baby. I know, I love it gets so crazy.
Have a little sip of my apple juice. Shut the fuck up, Tree. Guitar loop. Get the guitar loop. I'm going to take him out in the backyard and I'm going to plant this motherfucker.